All righty, here we go. It is a brand new Flyers Daily for the 27th of December, 2024. Flyers Daily, as always, presented by Ticketmaster. Make more memories live. Flyers back in action. Coming up tomorrow, a 4 o'clock Eastern puck drop in Anaheim. Be the first matchup between the Flyers and their former first-round draft pick, Cutter Gauthier. It'd also be Jamie Drysdale's first game against Anaheim as a member of the Philadelphia Flyers, if I recall. Yeah, I believe that is the case. So Flyers and Anaheim tomorrow, back-to-back. Sunday, they'll be in action at 9 o'clock Eastern against the Los Angeles Kings. Flyers look to exact a little revenge against the Kings this weekend, who they just lost to last week at Wells Fargo Center. Kings still sitting in the third spot in the Pacific Division. Well, they were second when the Flyers faced them last. Edmonton has jumped over them. 34 games played, 19, 10, and 5, 43 points, 6-2 and 2 in their last 10, but have lost their last two. Flyers, 35 games played, 15, 16, and 4, 3, 6, and 1 in their last 10, did lose their last one. And the opponent on Saturday will be Anaheim, who is sitting in the seventh spot of the Pacific Division of the Western Conference. 33 games played, 13, 6, and 4, 3, 6, and 1 in their last 10. They also lost their last one. So it'll be the Flyers and the Ducks tomorrow, and then it'll be the Flyers and the Kings on Sunday, and it'll be Flyers and San Jose on New Year's Eve at the Shark Tank at 8 o'clock Tuesday night. And then after the New Year, they'll head to Vegas and take on the Vegas Golden Knights on the 2nd. But in this episode, yesterday, if you didn't get a chance to listen to yesterday's episode, I know it's a bit of a disjointed week with the holiday and work schedules, and sometimes that affects people's patterns of listening, as they say in radio parlance. But one of the things we talked about in yesterday's episode, we kind of parked all the negativity and the ups and downs of this season and just discussed some of the positive things that we've got out of this season. I got some good notes from people, and we're going to go through them coming up on an episode next week, because I want to kind of combine them with what we're going to talk about in this episode. So I got some good DMs, some good tweets, a couple of emails as well about things that they're positive about in regards to this Flyer season, despite the fact that, as I said, just gave you the record. They're under Hockey 500. They've been up and down. As soon as you start to feel good about the team, they have a slide. You don't feel good, and then they start to, as soon as you think that, oh, it's over, they're not going to be a playoff team or they can't compete at that level, they start to play well again. It's been this Jekyll and Hyde season so far for the Flyers, so hard thing to kind of get a grasp on. But what I wanted to talk about in this episode, while we have this break, while we yielded a ton of positivity in yesterday's episode, not that we're going to heap negativity in this episode, but more kind of reality and things that I've looked at with this team through 35 games. And I've come up with 3 different categories and where I'm going to place them. This episode's all about concern. And I have the category of very concerned, where I have 7 things that I'm very concerned about with this year's team. I have the category of marginally concerned, and one of those is going to kind of cross in between the two of those. And then I have the category of zero concern. So let's start off with, first and foremost, very concerned. These are the things that I'm very concerned about in regards to this Flyers team. Once again, leading the list. And these are in no particular order. These are kind of just stream of consciousness, the way I thought of them. Number 1 is power play. Once again, power play got off to a good start this year, was clicking at a decent percentage, but it has fallen back once again. And it's not just the numbers of the power play. And I'll give you the numbers. When you look at power play percentage in the NHL, the Flyers are ranked 27th in the league right now at 15.6%. And they're not trending in the right direction. They're trending in the wrong direction right now. Like I said, they got off to a good start. And it's not just that they're a team that doesn't have good results on the power play. It's the way it's looked at times has looked concerning, unorganized, disjointed. And that's the thing. That's the reason why I have that in the category of very concerned. We went into the season very concerned about the power play. In the beginning of the season, those concerns were allayed a little bit, but they're back. And it's a huge concern. This power play, they have enough talent for the power play not to be that bad again. For what now, a 4th year in a row? It's bananas. So the power play is a huge concern. All right. Also, of very high concern, very concerned. I'm now concerned about the PK. They were great on the penalty kill last year. I think they finished third in the league. They led the league in shorthanded goals. They got off to a good start this year, albeit not scoring as many goals. They only have 2 shorties this year. Konechny had one early on, and Scott Lautwin had one recently. But all of a sudden, the PK is struggling mightily. Now, is that because they've been on it too much? Maybe that's part of it. But they're killing at 77.8%. It's 21st in the league. Forget about the power kill. They're not getting kills. So they're not creating offense off it, and they're not doing a good enough job keeping the puck out of their net. Again, they're now ranked 21st on the penalty kill in the NHL this season. You take away what was a huge strength, and now it's maybe a weakness. Now, is part of that a byproduct of subpar goaltending? Probably, to a degree. But the fact of the matter is this: penalty kill is not the strength it was, and that's very concerning. An individual player that I'm very concerned about is Joel Farabee. His inability to finish. He's played in 35 games this year. He's got 4 goals and 8 assists, 12 points. Now, the reason why I'm concerned is because of the deployment. He's been deployed on a top 6 forward role, top line 1 or 2 for the most part, for the entirety of the season. And he's only got the 4 goals. I don't think he's playing as bad as the lack of production would indicate. But the fact of the matter is this: you don't get points on the scoreboard because you played well if you don't score. So now it is a concern with Joel Farabee. I'm not trading Joel Farabee. We did an episode on that. I'm not, especially now. That would make no sense. You'd be trading him at a depressed value. He's a guy that's under contract for 2 more years beyond this. He also has scored 20 goals in a 55-game season and had 20 last year. But it's a concern. Why is he not able to snap out of this? He got a goal to end his drought, I think, at 13 or 18 games or whatever it was. And you thought, okay, maybe that'll open the floodgate. It hasn't opened it. That's a concern, big concern. My next concern is just too many goals allowed. Now, I could just say goaltending's not good enough, but that's only half the story. They're allowing way too many goals this season, way too many. It goes hand in hand with another one, which is goalie save percentage. But it's not just about the goaltending. The amount of goals that they're allowing per games played, they're allowing the most in the NHL at 3.66 goals per game. They're not a team that's going to be able to outscore their mistakes. Now, why are they giving up so much? Okay, the goaltending is subpar. I agree with that. It has been. Sam Ersson got off to a good start, got hurt, came back, hasn't been able to get into a rhythm, hasn't looked like Sam Ersson, frankly. And I think I understand why, because he's been back and forth in and out of the lineup because he was injured and probably coming back what maybe was a groin injury, which takes a little time to build trust in. Ersson in 17 games has an over 500 record, 7-6-2, but his goals against average is 3.28 and his save percentage is 8.72. Kolosov's played in 12 games, 4-6-1's his record, 3.34 goals against average, and a slightly better than Ersson save percentage at 878. Again, these are well below average. Fedotov's played in 10 games. He's got a record of 4-4-1. He's got 3.49 goals against and 8.77 save percentage. They're all right about the same area. Their team save percentage is 875, last in the NHL. Now, that's not just a goalie issue. That's also a defensive structural issue. Sometimes you just want to point the finger at the goalie. The goalie is also a product of his environment. I've mentioned this many times before. The Islanders way back had Doug Wade as a head coach. In his last year, they gave up the most goals in the NHL. The goalies were Grice, and I want to say, I'm trying to remember Yaroslav Halak were the 2 goalies. And they got the finger pointed at them. Oh, the goaltending's not good enough. Well, they came back the next year with the same goalies, pretty much the same team, with a different coach. His name was Barry Trotz. And they went from giving up the most goals in the NHL to giving up the least amount of goals in the NHL. Why? Did those guys just figure out how to stop a puck? Did Mitch Korn come in and just fix those two goalies? Maybe a little bit, but it was environment. It was the system of Barry Trotz where the environment was much more predictable. So they went from giving up the most under Doug Weight to giving up the least under Barry Trotz in one offseason. The same goalies. It's incredible. So the amount of goals they're giving up the Flyers, that's a concern. All right, next concern. How they're just getting behind multiple goals and chasing games. Now, they have the most third period multi-goal comebacks in the NHL. That's great, but it's not a way to make a living, and they're doing it too often. And you couple that with just the hideous numbers in their performance in goal differential in second periods. We've talked about this quite a bit. In second periods this season, they're getting outscored 50-31. That's in 35 games played. They're minus 19 in the period. In first periods, they're actually outscoring their opponents 29-27. Third periods, 49-40. But in that second period, they're getting outscored 50-31. Huge concern. Why is that? I can't put my finger on it, why that is. But that needs to be remedied. And then my last in the category of very concerned is this. 7 regulation wins this season in 35 games. Only it's tied for last in the league. One team's got 7 along with them, and that's the San Jose Sharks. That's not company you want to keep. And we're not even going to talk about the tie-breaking element of it now, but 7 regulation wins through 35 games is really concerning. So there's my 7 extremely, very concerned points. Power play, penalty kill, Joel Farabee's inability to finish, too many goals allowed along with the defensive structure, getting behind and chasing games in second period differential, and the 7 regulation wins. Also the team save percentage at .875, which is 32nd in the NHL. Those things are all very concerning to me. Now, the things that I'm marginally concerned about, I am concerned about Cam York since returning from his injury. Maybe it's going to take a little more time for him to get back to the level of where he was before he got injured and to where he was last year. I said that Cam York at the end of last season was the single best story, individual player story of any Flyer. The way he was able to defend and the way he was able to compete, block shots, handle opposing teams off the rush. But I'm a little concerned right now that he'll get back to that level this season. I think he's a guy that's an extremely confident player. And sometimes he's just so fluid the way he moves on the ice. We tend to mistake that for a lack of will or compete. But I'm a little concerned with where his game is right now. I think he can get it back. I think he will get it back. But I'm marginally concerned about it. I'm concerned about Sam Ersson this season with the being in and out of the lineup and a guy that's the starter for the first time. Where I'm concerned is what that does to him in here, what it does between the ears. Now, he did tell me at the beginning of the season when I asked him what he worked on this offseason, he said he worked on between the ears and handling that load. Well, with being in and out of the lineup, he hasn't really developed a rhythm this season, and I'm wondering what effect that has on him. So I'm marginally concerned about that. Now, with Sam, he is a very mentally strong goaltender. So that's why it's only marginally concerned. If I didn't feel that he could straighten that part out, I'd be very concerned. He'd have been in that category. Marginally concerned about finding the right center for Michkov. I still don't feel like the Flyers have done that. Maybe he's not here. Probably not. But I'm marginally concerned about that. That's more big picture, though. What I'm marginally concerned about is Jamie Drysdale. Maybe this should have been in very concerned. His ability to stay healthy. Because Jamie Drysdale needs a lot of developing still to really maximize the talent that he has, the skating ability and all those things. And we saw when he came back from injury, when he's decisive and not encumbered by, a core injury or something like that, we see what he can do. But to be able to do that consistently, he needs to play consistently. And I worry about his ability to stay healthy, his ability to have availability. We've seen flashes, but he's got to stay healthy. And that's something that I'm concerned about. I'm also marginally concerned. I'm really hoping Morgan Frost can maintain his recent form of offensive play and, frankly, all zone play. I think he's looked good of late, because I'm afraid that if he does fall out of this form for a period, he's going to end up out of the lineup again. And I can't see how they can continue taking him in and out of the lineup anymore. So I'm concerned about that. So those are my marginally concerned. Cam York, Sam Emerson, finding the right center for Michkov, Drysdale's availability, and Frost being able to maintain the form that he's in right now. Sometimes you go, just don't question it. When he's running good, keep him going. But I had to put it in there. Of zero concern for me, Travis Konechny. I know he's not producing at the moment the way he has all year, but he'll be there. I'm not worried about him. I'm not worried about Travis Sanheim. I know some people are. Can he maintain with the amount of minutes that he plays and the role that he plays? I think this is who he is now in his prime. I think he's an incredibly mature player on and off the ice. So I don't worry about Travis Sanheim. I'm of zero concern. I'm of zero concern about Rasmus Ristolainen as well. I think that he's found the guardrails of his game. I think what this coaching staff, Brad Shaw in particular, has done for him is show him the blueprint to be a very good NHL defenseman, and he's been that. I have no concern about Owen Tippett. I know he drives some people crazy. He drives me crazy at times because I don't think he knows how good he is. But if he can just even out the penthouse from the basement, his peak game from his rock bottom game, and just kind of bring the rock bottom part up into the first floor, then he's going to be a huge piece because he's an incredibly gifted player physically. I think sometimes he needs to think the game a little bit better. I like when he's got a little bit of a physical edge to him, but if he can just shrink that gap between his best and his worst game, then he's a huge piece for this team for a long time. So I'm not concerned about him. I think he'll figure that out. He's in his prime. He's 25. I think it's the perfect time to. Emil Andre is a guy I'm not concerned about either. Now, I know that's weird to say because he was just sent back to the Phantoms. Fact of the matter is this when it comes to Emil Andre. All said and done, as his development continues, and he'll get back up here with the Flyers, hopefully soon, he can be a difference maker on the blue line. He's never going to be a lockdown defender, but he can be a difference maker because of how he sees the game and how he predicts the game and his skill set. So I'm not concerned. I have zero concern about Emil Andre and his head going down and coming back. Not concerned at all. And then the last one of zero concern for me is the culture that it could crumble if they continue to not play well. I don't think that's in danger. I think the culture, the team camaraderie, the respect of the room, I don't think that that's going to come crumbling down. I really don't. That's not a concern of mine at all. So of zero concern, Konechny, Sanheim, Ristolainen, Tippett, Emil Andre, and that the culture will crumble. I'm not concerned about any of those. So what say you? You can always tweet me at Jason Myrt, JasonMyrt. You can DM me there as well, or you can send me an email, jason.myrtetus, MYRTETUS @gmail.com. All right, Flyers, Ducks tomorrow, Flyers, Kings Sunday. Bill Meltzer joins us Monday. We'll talk about the weekend of hockey and more. So join us then, coming up Monday on a brand new Flyers Daily. Have a great weekend, everybody.